coalition as opposed to the great collection of people that we have here today that aren't actually organized in a way that is like a coalition.
Okay. The way, I actually just told the story to somebody a few minutes ago. The way that Complete Streets came about was I was working for America Bikes, which is another coalition of the national bicycle groups in the United States. There's 8 of them, and they were working on federal transportation policy. They wanted what was called routine accommodations to happen at the federal level, which is the basic idea that you routinely accommodate bicycles in transportation projects. This wasn't going over very well on Capitol Hill. People didn't understand what it meant. So we decided we needed a new term. We put together a process, came up with Complete Streets. At the time, we were like, well, that's okay, it's okay. But we knew that we did know that it was more than bikes. And so I put together a task force. I have been working in transportation for a while. I used to work with another national group called the Surface Transportation Policy Project, so I know new people who were interested in this issue from all different areas, and we brought together AARP, American Public Transit Association, we had a bunch of health groups, all kinds of organizations that might have an interest in this to help us move it forward. That task force eventually morphed into the coalition, and we really have had this very loose coalition structure. We do not have our own 501c3 status, our own tax status. Our staff we have 2.5 people on staff at Complete Streets. Most of our work is done by coalition members. AARP we did a big report I didn't talk about this morning called Planning Complete Streets for an Aging America. They put that whole thing together. The APA, although I actually wrote most of the manual, the American Planning Association put a lot of the money and got a grant from the federal government for that. Institute of Transportation Engineers has done a bunch of things. I can just go on and on about how all the different organizations have organized different pieces of the coalition. We have a big lobby day, and America Bikes organizes that. So different groups all feel ownership of Complete Streets. It's not, oh, that's Barbara McCann's little thing over there. It's we, the American Planning Association, are Complete Streets. We, the American Public Transportation Association, we are Complete Streets. And so this tremendous sense of ownership and having those groups have sessions at their conferences, have articles in their newsletters, all of these different people and professions feel like Complete Streets belongs to them. And I think that's been one of the things that's been great. I mean, this here, we have the Complete Streets Forum, we didn't trademark it or copyright it or anything. It's really something that a lot of groups have made it their own and moved forward. And I think that the key to that has been we have regular coalition meetings, and everybody thinks about what they can do. We think about how we can work together. Pairs it's kind of chaotic, I will say. We'll have different organizations working together on one thing, and then another set of organizations working together on another thing, and we're just trying to keep track of it all. So it's very loose, but it's really worked, I think, to grow as quickly as we have, to have that many different organizations be involved.
Thank you. We're getting, believe it or not, we're almost out of time, so I think I've got time for one question, possibly two. Please.
Okay, my question actually sort of builds on one that's listed in the program here in terms of how to juggle multiple stakeholders and associated political constraints. And specifically in Winnipeg, this year under the infrastructure stimulus program, we're pursuing 37 projects in active transportation this year. So there's lots of projects happening. We don't have a lot of history designing these facilities, so we're really quite challenged to try to design 37 different sites and balancing those needs. What we're finding is that we certainly have a very strong cycling advocacy group who are learning with us, with the administration, about how those needs impact on, for example, universal design issues within the community. And so my question relates to the one that's here, but in terms of, we know we have a huge number of advisory committees to council, to the administration, whether it be universal design, urban design, active transportation, committee for seniors, all of these various groups that certainly have an interest in these complete streets, given that really this is about quality of life for our community. How do you
I think it's one of the challenges that I think we all have. I know we have in the transit industry, and I think all of us have touched it over the past hour, and it is a little bigger than what we're trying to get out of the objective to complete streets. We have to involve the urban planners. We have to involve the traffic guys, even though the highway design capacity manual seems to be the Bible there. But we have to get all those stakeholders together, and I think at the end of the day, you need someone to champion it. And it's going to be incremental on some places, and it's going to take some time to get that done and bring some of the participants over. But if you get a champion, the best champions out there are the political ones, because they carry a lot of weight with the staff, and to move them on board. And sometimes, they'll come aboard grudgingly, but hopefully at the end of the day, we'll see the light, and to get them all together. And some of it, obviously, will be some compromises at first, but as soon as you get the concept introduced, I think it'll spread, and some of the ideas will germinate from there.
Yeah, and I'll add that half of the stakeholder engagement is about getting as many people as you can involved as early in the process. The more you do that, it's going to save you headaches later along the route. The other half is about leadership. Inevitably, you're talking about changing the status quo. There has to be an aspect of leadership in that, be it between champions, be it between the information that you set on the table. At many levels, it is about introducing new ideas and then designing them and managing them and implementing them in different ways. So there has to be an aspect of leadership that comes into play into that. The other part of your question is you're talking about, I don't have one project, I have 37 projects, and they're all coming in together. And that's another one that, it might seem like a headache right now, but there is a silver lining. Often is you can get 37 projects approved where you couldn't get one of them approved on its own. It's really hard sometimes to make an argument as to why a little change makes sense in a particular area. If you can make the argument for a whole big picture and how that 37 little changes make sense in a complete picture, sometimes you can get that one approved easier than tackling 37 one at a time.
How are we doing, Alex?
If we have one more quick question, that's fine, but other than that.
Okay, great. Please.
Hey, I'm Jean McDonald, and I've ridden a bicycle in Toronto all my adult life. And I get the distinct feeling from drivers that I don't belong there. And in discussing it with many of them, the thing is I don't pave the roads. Therefore, my bike lanes and my wanting to cross the street at a particular time, it doesn't have validity. I figure because the roads are funded by my property tax largely, and because so many drivers do not actually originate in Toronto, I figure I'm paying actually more for the roads than the average driver. And I think if drivers understood that, they may have more tolerance for bike lanes. They may have more tolerance. I find that part of the problem with my safety on the road is not so much the traffic, but the attitude that I don't count. So my question is, what can we do to get that information out to drivers that they actually are beholden in a way to cyclists, to pedestrians for their driving?
That's a good question.
I can say a couple things about that. I think that one of the powerful things is to start having these facilities and start to complete the street, because the street gives a lot of information to drivers as they're driving along. And if all they have is a 12-foot lane without any obstructions on either side, no crosswalks, no bike lane, no sidewalks, the message is, and it's straight, the message is, go as fast as you can. And people, over and over again, speed limit signs make no difference. People drive as fast as it feels safe and comfortable. And so more and more transportation safety is starting to shift to this paradigm of we have to have the road itself communicate to people about
much for all the great questions. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I feel like we just got started here. I'd like to please thank our